Cop Chat. You've got questions for the police? They're here to give you the answers on WEFM 99.9.
The world has become such a cruel place. Something is wrong with the human race. Preacher man say it's wonders and signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning, it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in no use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
All right, so we are back another week for another segment or another edition of our Cop Chat discussion. And this morning, we have with us, we are talking on the topic of emerging trends in financial crime, the latest methods used by criminals, and how to counter them. All right. And joining us this morning, we have Mrs. Letitia Sandy Max. She's the director of the FIU. Mr. Hezron Ballantyne, commander of the Eastern Division of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, and Mr. Serlian Russell, pronounced it correctly, right? Senior Manager Retail of Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All right, so good morning to everyone. And of course, Ari is also here with me. All right, so good morning to everyone. And at this time, we're going to allow each person to briefly introduce themselves and the organization that they're representing. All right, so maybe ladies first. Miss Sandy Max, over to you. Hi, Mrs. Max.
You need some water?
I don't know what's wrong this morning.
All right, let's start with the person in studio. Good morning, Mr. Russell.
Hi, morning.
If you don't mind speaking into the mic.
Yes, morning, and thank you for inviting me to this program. Good morning to all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, those who are listening to WEFM. It's been a while since I've been in WEFM studio. I haven't been here many moons hosting or as a guest, so I feel at home even every time that I'm here. I'm here representing Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm the senior manager retail, and I'm happy to participate in discussion like these that could help to educate our nation as it relates to finances and how to protect your finances from criminals who are always a couple steps ahead. Okay.
All right, Mr. Harry, I think you put something on me this morning.
All right, Mr. Ballantyne. Mr. Ballantyne and Miss Sandy, you're both muted. If you can unmute your mics and introduce yourself.
Good morning to you. Good morning to the listening public of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and persons who are listening in diaspora and who are viewing on this link. I am Hezron Ballantyne. I'm a superintendent of police in the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. I am presently in charge of the Eastern Division. I have done 29 years. This is 30 years in the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force, serving the people of my country. 15th of July will be 30 years. I'm happy to be a part of this program, and in the studio I see my very good friend Mr. Russell, and also Miss Sandy, who will be joining us a bit later. I'm very pleased to be here. I am also looking forward for an interactive program that we can deal with issues that we are confronted with when it comes to financial crimes. I am battling a bit under the weather. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. As you can listen to my voice, like your host there. I'm battling with a little hostess here.
Okay, so on the holiday.
No, I got this before, man.
All right.
Morning, Bali.
Morning, Mr. Russell. Glad to see you, man. Sorry I can't be there in person.
All right, so we already know what crime is, but tell us what financial crime is this morning.
All right, anyone can go ahead.
So Russell, Mr. Valentine, anyone?
Well, from a banking perspective, financial crime, a crime that that criminals try to do or do using financial instruments. Not only in terms of banking instrument, but any instrument that's relating to finance. So the crime is considered to be a financial crime. I guess Bali, who is a police, may have a different legal definition, but in terms of a framework, I know we have uh, Sandy online who would give us a definition also from the FIU.
Well, she has she's joined us, so we'll allow her to introduce herself and we get into it this morning. Good morning, Miss Sandy.
Good morning. Apologies, I was there but couldn't hear anything. So
That's why we're here. Technology.
I know. I'm the director of the Financial Intelligence Unit.
Okay.
All right, and if you don't mind, for the sake of the listeners, could you just explain what the Financial Intelligence Unit is all about?
Okay, well, the Financial Intelligence Unit, this is an organization that is responsible for the investigation of all financial crimes within the country. That's any crime from which there is a financial benefit. We are hybrid, so we're staffed with police officers, lawyers. We also analyze suspicious activity reports, which all financial and non-financial institutions are required to file with us if they suspect that somebody is engaged in money laundering, terrorist financing, or any other financial crime. And we are also responsible for supervising the non-bank entities, so the car dealers, jewelers, lawyers, real estate, as well as non-profit organizations.
All right, so to get into today's topic, could you just give us an overview of the current financial crime trends and what new methods criminals are using today? Anyone can go ahead.
Well,
okay, Miss Sandy, I think let's start with you.
Yeah, but while you get ready, just like to tell the listeners that some of these crimes include new age financial crimes, money laundering, fraud, insider trading, tax evasion, cybercrime, and most importantly, fraud. Fraud and money laundering, I think, is at the forefront of these trends. But over to you, Miss Sandy.
I think it's my grandmother who says nothing is new under the sun, because while people may get more sophisticated, the crimes that are occurring, they're really not new. Scams globally are at the forefront. So there are a number of crimes. One of the main ones is called pig butchering. Persons might hear the name and be put off, but all it means is that you literally fatten up the person you're going to scam before you slaughter them. So what's happening is that you have a lot of people gaining the trust of their potential victims. They either do it through dating apps or pretend to be investors. They spend a lot of time gaining trust and offer their expertise in terms of these investment opportunities. And they lure them in, have them invest monies, and then ultimately it's a case where they make it seem like that's legitimate, allow them to probably see some little return on their investment, and then ultimately they disappear. So that is gaining more and more traction, especially as you mentioned in this time of AI, because they either steal credentials from legitimate persons to appear legitimate themselves, or they create these AI profiles. I know we go on Instagram and there's that app that keeps popping up every minute that they could turn your party pictures into business pictures. So with AI, it's making it a little harder to see if something is fake, right? And of course, you have all of these crypto related offenses in the what we traditionally would call the Nigerian scam, where we would be able to spot somebody engaged in those activities because the language was broken and things like that. With the advent of things like chat GBT, it's a case where you get text that's flawless. So before, when you had that broken English being the telltale sign that this person was perhaps engaged in that Nigerian scam, it's more difficult to spot. So again, the ultimate aim is to rid you of your proceeds, and so those would be two of the things that I think I would speak about and hand over to the others on the call.
All right. Well, as a banker, I can give you it from a banking perspective. This going in, I heard Bali talk about his 30 something, 31 or so plus years. This is my 33rd year in banking.
Okay.
And when I joined banking back in 1991, you could have come to the bank and open accounts for your mother, sister, uncle, auntie, everybody.
Godchild.
The only how you could have withdrawn money from those accounts would have been ensuring that the signature that you provided on the card matches what you signed. Technology has facilitated and provided that impetus where financial institutions could create all sorts of sophisticated products to meet your needs. But so too the technology, the criminals are using the same technology to be ahead of us. And so while you have technology providing, allowing financial institutions to provide debit cards and credit card and online banking, the criminals are using the same technology to steal your identity, and so that you could, well, you could stop in Timbuktu, as in the country Timbuktu, and use a Visa or MasterCard branded debit card and withdraw funds from your account in St. Vincent. So to the criminal who could steal your identity in which part of the world and withdraw funds from your account, so technology has provided that platform and that impetus for those type of products, but it also allows for the criminals to use the same sort of technology. And the director for you already alluded to some of the areas. So there is where we have seen a lot of crimes. Recently, we have seen, well, with the growth of debit and credit cards, you have a lot of crimes even perpetuating within the homes where your a child, your own children, may take the card to go and purchase a lot of games on online. And the parent knowing that, well, I had the card on me all the time, see all these things start hitting their account, and they'll run to the financial institutions, hey, I didn't use this, and the adamant that nobody did this, there's nobody in my home, and until when you do the investigation, you realize it's really your children and so forth would have used a card. So you have a lot of these, but the most sophisticated ones is in relation to some that the director mentioned. Also, I've seen cases where lot of we have a lot of small boutique hotels where criminals will book hotel rooms and cancel just before the booking time. They might have booked 5, 6, 7 rooms, and you will have a penalty for canceling before. And they will be in communication with you and tell you, okay, no problem, cancel, take out your penalty and just remit the difference back to me from through Western Union or MoneyGram, one of these institutions. Or that you're being scammed because the card that they would have used would have been one where they would have stole. It would have been a fake card, a fraud card. So they commit fraud. There's also the issue of stealing identity. July, August, you go on your vacation and you're going to Walmart, one of these big shopping centers, and these criminals would have hacked these institutions, steal the database, and capture your information. So these are the things. So it is important that your card, that you be so cautious and secure when using your card, whether it's your debit card or credit card, in terms of securing information.
Okay, so as we're talking scams, most of these scams that persons would be privy to would be things that they see on television or movie series, whatever. But I remember one thing that took me off guard was in 2017 when there was the fake ATM fronts, and I think it was Bank of SDG, and two St. Lucians were charged for that. How is it that you discovered that this was happening? Because I know that's usually something hard to spot because it looks like a regular ATM.
Yes, well, we have had we do we have have systems in place that monitors activities on people's transactions. Apart from linked up with our Visa and Foreseas, who's our providers, we have people physically monitoring extra hours and so forth. So once there's any shift in trend, we'll pick it up, and once we pick it up, we increase our monitoring, and that is always we've been able to actually capture the fraudsters, because we monitor and ensure that we sweep our ATMs regularly for these sort of crimes, because the thing with the criminals, as you indicated, in terms of that type of crime, where they actually fit devices over the ATM that looks directly or on the mouth of the ATM, so that when you put in your card, it will capture
Your
the
information.
information, and then have a camera to capture your PIN, or they put it on the device on the door to capture your PIN. So we have through monitoring, and once you provide in a lot of these sophisticated products, you have to have the infrastructure in place, not only in terms of the technology, but also people to were trained and so forth to monitor the activities. That is why, if you're a customer of Bank of St. Vincent and you use your card, if you say, for example, travel, and you use your card, if you didn't notify us, then you may find when you try to use it again, the card is blocked because you didn't let us know that you will be in Barbados, and you're in St. Vincent, you're seeing transaction in Barbados, because you didn't notify us, we'll block the card, and then we'll try to contact you to verify that, okay, if this is a genuine transaction.
All right. And before we move from Mr. Russell, in terms of accounts, our general accounts, online activity within our accounts, not the ATM alone, does the bank sort of keep a track, or is like a notification there for when persons, let's say unusual activity in terms of, let's say, frequent or more than usual money's coming out of their accounts, etc. Does the bank do that?
Yes, we have different rules depending on the type of transaction, because remember, you have to try and have a balance between providing the convenience to customer, that you don't want them to feel that, okay, you go on shopping, you don't want the bank to really be disturbing you every day. So there's a balance that we have to look at in terms of providing the convenience, but at the same time make sure that we monitor for fraudulent activities. And that is why, for example, as I indicated earlier, if you're traveling, we ask you to notify the bank, so that we know that you're in these type of jurisdiction, especially if it's a high-risk jurisdiction. But even if it's a high-risk jurisdiction, you still want to have that. So even, for example, you tell us that you're in France or Turkey. There are certain areas that, once you're high risk, we have different levels of security measures where you are, depending on the certain type of business that are higher risk. So, for example, jewelry and so forth, that you may want to verify the transaction with you. So different banks have different methods in place. There have to be those type of balances in place to make sure that we monitor your activities based on your pattern, to make sure that we minimize the fraudulent transactions possible. Because the thing of it is that you can't stop it, because the criminals are always ahead of you based on the technology.
All right. So the next question I have is for Miss Sandy and Mr. Ballantyne. We're not aware, or at least you would be more privy to the statistics relating to the amount of financial crimes affecting Vincentians today. I'm hoping that maybe you can present these stats and we could go on to discuss preventative measures. But the time is 8:25. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll do that right when we're back.
That could have been you. An accident that could have been avoided because your tires had almost no grip on the road. Safety is a factor that should never be overlooked when it comes to your car or whatever you drive. SVG Tire Sales and Services in Balls Avenue and in Arnisvale carries a wide selection of quality new tires to fit any car, truck, minibus, or SUV, so you can experience a comfortable and safe commute every time. We are agents for the world's most reliable brands on and off the road, including Kenda Tires, the king of the mountain, Cooper Tires, king of the road and track, Osto, the king of the outback, and High Fly, the king of the Asian highway. We also carry new tires for light or heavy-duty trucks from MRF, High Fly, and Linglong. A reliable set of new tires keep you, your passengers, and your payload always in the safe lane. So when you need quality tires with reliability at 100%, choose SVG Tire Sales and Services in Kingstown, 457-1467, or in Arnisvale, 456-6444. SVG Tire Sales and Services. Performance and reliability proven when the rubber meets the road.
Do you want to feel clean or refreshed after using the bathroom? Whether at home, work, or play? Welcome to My Smart Toilet Seats. All of our products wash your private parts after using the bathroom without the use of your hands. Let's hear what our national table tennis champion, Damian Dublin, has to say.
I tried it and it works. There are 4 options. Simply add an attachment to your existing toilet seat, or choose a non-electric seat, or better, an electric seat that washes and dries you with warm water and air. Lastly, get a complete smart toilet that also flushes itself. What are you waiting for? Get your smart toilet seat today. Be smart, be refreshed, be clean, be a winner like me.
Our smart toilet seat is available throughout St. Vincent at retail outlets with the orange flags. You can call us at 457-1703 or visit our website at justwashit.vc.
Yes, sir.
Our industry relies on all of us to play our part. We take pride in showcasing our beautiful island, our craft, our cuisine, and our warm Vincentian hospitality.
Each of us play a crucial role in showcasing our vibrant tourism industry. We can create spaces where visitors can unwind, connect with nature, and embrace tranquility of our beautiful surroundings.
We need everyone on board to help us create an exceptional experience for our guests.
Join us at our National Tourism Community Consultations as we shape the future of tourism in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
It's everyone's business, yeah. Live it, love it, embrace it.
That's the sound of your animals. Strong, healthy, and delivering yields you love. That didn't just happen. It began with you feeding them only the best. East Caribbean Feeds. Rest assured, we only produce your feeds with premium ingredients, no hormones, no animal byproducts, just everything your animal needs for maximum nutrition. Because your animals deserve only the best. East Caribbean Feeds from Maximum Nutrition.
Evangelist Bridget Blucher. Evangelist Bridget Blucher in association with BBS Ministries presents a Mother's Day boat ride entitled Step Aside, I'm Still Here. It's an all-white affair coming your way on Saturday, May 11th with live ministry by Minister Bridget Blucher, Pearl McMaster, Andres Basco, and Ronnie Richards. The Admiral 2 departs from SVG at 8:30 a.m. then returns from Beckway at 4:30 p.m. It's the Mother's Day all-white boat ride on May 11th. Tickets only $60 to include boat ride and concert. Yes, Beauty Salon, 784-532-0654. Spotlight Restaurant, Paul's Avenue in Kingstown, 784-453-1253. And the Music Center, 784-456-1746. It's the all-white boat ride affair on May 11th. You can't afford to miss it.
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound. Cop Chat. You've got questions for the police? They're here to give you the answers on WEFM 99.9.
The world has become such a cruel place. Something is wrong with the human race. Preacher man say it's wonders and signs. We are living in the end of times. Where is the love we once used to know? Where is the kindness we used to show? The heart of man is so full of hate. Let's make a change before it's too late. Too much killing, too much blood spilling. Each and every morning, it's weeping and mourning. We've got to stop all the crimes, erase the violence, let our voice be heard. We can't sit in silence. The hope of tomorrow is in no use today. We've got to live in love. Crime and violence don't pay.
Welcome back, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The time is 8:31, and you're listening to Cop Chat. This morning, we have joining us from the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force, Hezron Ballantyne, from the SVG FIU, Letitia Brandy, and from Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines,
Letitia
Sandy. Sorry, I'm seeing a B here on the screen. Cerulean, Russell. So good morning once again to everyone on the panel. We're discussing emerging trends in financial crime. So before we went to break, I had asked the FIU and the RSVG PF to present some stats. What are some of the crimes affecting Vincentians today as it relates to finance?
Okay, so from the FIU standpoint, we would handle the money laundering, asset recovery aspect of things, right? The police would investigate the predicate offenses, which means any offense from which a financial benefit is derived. So, for example, the case that you asked Mr. Russell about just now with the fraud involving the St. Lucians, those 3 persons would have also been charged and convicted for money laundering. And as I said, the FIU, we have multiple powers. So we can seize, detain, ultimately forfeit any cash that is intended for or derived from crime. So last year, we detained approximately 51,000 EC dollars that was intended for or derived from crime. And of course, all of this has to go through the judicial process. So in the cases that we took to court, the magistrate would have forfeited about 195,000 EC dollars, meaning that the magistrate found that there was sufficient evidence to come to a decision that the cash had either come from or was intended for crime. Now, from the FIU standpoint, we would have seen that most of these detention and forfeiture, the predicate offense or the crime, would have been related to drugs, the illicit trafficking in marijuana. So that was the main predicate offense for these offenses. But we also have civil powers where at the High Court, and there we do see that there is some fraud, instances of misuse of persons, if you have bank accounts, credit cards, things like that. So those have been predicate offenses at the High Court. But for last year, the majority of the cases from the FIU end concerned drugs, illicit trafficking in drugs.
Yes, I want to endorse all that was said by Ms. Sandy and Mr. Russell earlier. As we know, a fraudster hits like a cancer. It's not easy when somebody would have worked so hard for their cash, and at the end of the day, they've been victims of financial crime. The FIU and the banking institution or the financial institution in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I do know that we would have done several and have several reports, investigated several matters involving fraud, money laundering, and of course, we have to engage the various agencies to assist us to successfully convict these persons. We have been doing so, and we have been doing so quite well. I recall that even in counterfeit currency, that we would have successfully convicted persons in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, they continue to put things in place with regards to security of our currency. And even the fraudster, they are trying to evade that system and ensure to see whether or not they can really get the persons to accept the fake currency because of the fact that they do not know what to look for. So we're definitely working close with the various agencies to ensure when we do our investigation that we are successful. I do not have with me the statistics with regards to the amount of investigation that we would have done throughout the country, but I do know that we would have done a few with regards to fraud. We would have seen situations where persons are even issuing bounce check to individuals who would have worked so hard, and only when they turn up at the bank, they will realize that no monies are available in these persons' accounts. And of course, we have to do our investigation. We have to engage the bank and ask the assistance to help us so that we can get these persons and carry them to justice.
All right. So as we know, the world is seeing a number of technological advances, and with these advances come crime. So as it relates to crime prevention, how can technology help in detecting and preventing some of these crimes related to finance?
Well, one of the first things is that we have to use the technology. And one of the ways first in terms of fighting the technology is by actually using the technology rather than not using the technology, because of operating in cash is even more riskier, right? Than operating with the use of technology. For example, using of point of sales as a businessman to make sure that you capture your sales and so forth, right? Like any other thing, is about knowing your customer and also protecting and safeguarding your own identity, right? First, let me look dealing with the first one in terms of KYC, the person that you're trading with, is to know your customer. If you're doing business with an individual, you have to do background checks. You'll be surprised to know a lot of businesses that customer just we have seen it recently when, well, it's been going on for a while. People from these, for example, the Grenadines will call up, do business with business houses in town, and you'll be surprised that a lot of these businesses are just from a phone call and just do business with that person just like that without any background checks. You have to do your background checks. Is know your customer, KYC, that is what we call it in finance. You have to do your due diligence on that person. And on the other hand, in terms of your identity, you have to safeguard it. You just can't take, for example, if I go to a restaurant with my business, with my credit card, if you're taking my card to go somewhere to swipe it on the machine, I tell you, no, give me back my card. You have to swipe it in front of me. I know, so if a business house don't have that sort of a mobile point of sales, then they need to get it, right? People need to push back and understand these things. You have to safeguard your card because there's so many things that go wrong when they go with it, and then people could then take your information without you knowing, So if you have to make sure that you safeguard your identity, not only with your card, even online, the sites that you're going to, the websites that you're going to, you need to make sure that these are safe and secured sites rather than just going into just looking for who might have the best deal without paying attention to you. So it's about safeguarding your information and ensure that when you navigate the internet and so forth, pay attention to the sites and ensure that they're safe. Those are some of the ways in which you can actually prevent yourself from becoming being a victim of a financial crime.
Okay, and Mr. Valentine, from your end, yes, go ahead. Yes.
Just to add also to what Mr. Russ was saying, I also want to use this forum to encourage the custom officers and immigration officers also to be more vigilant at the airports, because I remember a few years ago, even before the St. Lucian issue, the vigilance of certain immigration officers and police officers who were working at the airport were able to detain a few persons from, I think it's Venezuela or Guyana, who came in equipped to really do some naughty work here with regards to our ATM machine. I personally investigated that matter. I remember getting scanners from them, carbons, and other items that they would have used or want to use to that definitely deceive the system here. So we also have to get those other agencies on board and remind them that they have to be also vigilant at these ports when these persons come in, because you never know. Carnival is on the go, and this time now when persons seems to want to use these opportunities to get to our shows to commit these kind of crimes.
So in light of these crimes, what are some of the specific actions and programs that the FIU has implemented to prevent them?
Well, first and foremost would be things such as this. Education is critical. I know we tend to overlook it and expect that people expect something a bit more heavy-handed, but a lot of times, people end up in these positions because they don't understand, and that lack of knowledge is taken advantage of. So we do any opportunity for outreach, we do that.
Letitia, Miss Andy, you're breaking up a bit, so.
Sorry, it's raining, and we know what the internet is like when it's raining sometimes. Sorry. Yes. Yes. So education is critical for us, both for the public and private sector. So we conduct training annually with all financial and non-financial institutions, publish articles, publish information on our website. And of course, it's critical for us as well to leverage training so that we're aware of what is new and we're not caught off guard. So we try to stay as abreast as possible. The police officers and the staff, FIU, they specialized in this area. This is the area that they've trained in and work in specifically.
All right, and there you go again. Okay, again?
Sorry. Yes, we're always ready to assist any partner, public or private, because I think education is critical. A lot of people aren't aware that a number of these things are happening. So the technology, for example, with the AI, I think it's important that banks, financial institutions understand that the technology is there, and it is a case where it's very difficult for to realize that somebody is engaged in crime, because you can have the picture generated by AI, they can do the video generated via AI, and the methods that you would traditionally use to try to find out, you call, but they can, using free apps, they can now mimic your voice, right? So even that becomes difficult. Just like our cell phones have two-factor authentication to verify, that's what we need to do as those trying to prevent those crimes. Find different questions to ask, find different ways of going about verifying that our customer is our customer. And it's very important for the customer to understand that those of us on this side, on the good side of the law, and your financial institutions are working to protect you. And we need not place the blame with the financial institution when there are more questions or there are more procedures. It's because it's becoming more difficult to combat what is being done on the other side. So before, whereas a simple telephone call, they have verified it's you, now I can mimic your voice within seconds of getting your voice from somewhere, right? Holding up a newspaper with today's date while showing the video, that doesn't do anything anymore because that can be mimicked. And it's so easy. With social media, we post the name of our pets, our children, our first love. So when the bank asks you those questions now, I could answer them for you because you've put everything on social media. So we now have to delve deeper and find different ways now of trying to come against everything that the frauds, that the criminals have. So education is critical, right? Do your best to, we travel. Mr. Russell mentioned when we travel, what happens. I love to get a 10%, a 5% off when you step in a store if you give them your email address. But I'm not going to give them the email address that's associated with my work email or personal data. I have special addresses for that have a different name, a different birth date. But we so want to leverage these things that we don't pay attention to how much information we're putting out there. Something comes in, we click on it, we don't pay attention to that. And when we're told, perhaps this is a scam, you get upset with the person, let's say at Western Union or at the bank, because if it's a romance scam, you think they don't want you to find love, or they don't want you to be happy when somebody we have to, honestly, we have to go back to basics and apply some common sense ourselves as well.
All right, so go ahead.
I just wanted to add to what the teacher just mentioned in relation to training as it relates to businesses, right? Because even my bank, very often I will get a simulation something, and they send out things to test us to make sure that we don't click on the wrong things, right? Because of so many instances of phishing and so forth in the environment, and research has shown that where most of businesses has been hacked, it's through the negligence of employees, right? And I want to encourage businesses to make sure that they pay attention and take training seriously in terms of educating their staff, and to have these simulation exercises to make sure that the staff don't click on the wrong email, and pay attention to these things. Letitia did mention the issue of using different emails for the discount and so forth. Because a lot of people use their work emails not knowingly, and these are the things that the scammers like to do in terms of phishing emails and so forth, to try to steal your identity and to get into your system to hold you at ransom and so forth.
So we know you guys need to work in collaboration, the FIU, the police force, and the financial institutions. As well, Miss Sandy had pointed out that there are also lawyers who work with the FIU as well. How vital is this collaboration?
That collaboration is critical. From the FIU standpoint, we see it every day in terms of our successes. We recently completed a mutual evaluation by a regional body to test the systems we have to combat financial crime. And the SVGFIU was rated a substantial level of effectiveness, which is the second highest. The highest is high level. So we're very proud of our substantial level, but that is only possible because of the collaboration. As I said, we have police officers who are part of this. There's a very strong working relationship with the RSVGPF. We have lawyers, and we prosecute criminal matters along with the office. Civil matters along with the Office of the Honorable Attorney General, and the entire framework of entities that are there to combat crime. So the supervisors, the FSA, the ECCB, as well as our partners, because public-private partnership is so critical, because working with persons like Mr. Russell, have to report suspicious activities to us, and in turn we educate them on trends, typologies, and provide training. So without that partnership, the success is impossible, because we all have a piece of the puzzle, and it's not until we sit around the same table and put those pieces together that we can have a successful outcome.
Well, from since the money
inception,
from since the inception of the
FIU,
the FIU, the passing of the money laundering bills and acts and so forth, Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I'm all the financial institutions in the country have been working and have that collaborative effort with that institution, and along with the police. And as Letitia indicated, had it not been for that level of cooperation, we would not have had the sort of ratings that we have had as a country. And I've participated in several, if not all, of the evaluations since the inception. And the feedback and the response by the financial sector has been always exceptional. So we have that collaborative effort in terms of ensuring that we keep our space safe. And it's important that we keep our space safe because the that is the only how we could we could feel confident in terms of our financial institution and doing business in the country.
Okay. And I think Mr. Banton,
Yes,
you wanted to come in? Yes.
yes. I just want to add that we, as a police, we have a very good relationship with, I must say, the best FIU in the Caribbean, if it's not in the world. We have been
Center of
rated.
Excellence.
We have been rated. Well, I would have traveled overseas and posted with counterparts, and they would have spoke highly about us. I have knowledge that persons from within the other regions come and understudy us and so on, have persons seconded to our FIU, and under the leadership of Ms. Sandy, I know how intense she is when it comes to investigation. I always say, the way you start an investigation is the way you can end it. If you start it poor, it may end up poor. And with having FIU on board with these financial investigations, trust me, it gave us 100%, and make us looking very good, making sure that we bring these culprits, touch them hard where we have to touch them to make sure that they feel what others will feel when they commit crime against them.
All right. So throughout the show this morning, all of you have been giving us tips on how to prevent being victims of financial crimes. But what are some of the emerging threats that consumers and institutions should prepare for?
Well, as I said, I think I go back to where I started with the scams using virtual assets. So scams remain, but the introduction of virtual assets, we need to be very careful about it. As virtual, I think a lot of people thought it would only be here for a little bit. We see that it's here to stay. And the thing is, the good and bad is that people, because they realize there is some legitimacy to it, they are more willing to buy it now. So given the value and how much you can get, people are using that to scam you. So all of the scams we spoke about, virtual currency is being used, and the issue with that is so difficult to track sometimes given the speed at which it is used. So all of the scams we're aware of, they are now employing virtual currency. And as I said, the issue of generative AI, generative artificial intelligence, those same scams are becoming more flawless because of the technology that produces wording and pictures and everything that can lure us in to make it more legitimate. So we need to really think twice and ask some more questions before we give in willingly to those sort of scams.
All right. And go ahead, Mr. Russell.
I want to just add on something before the time run out and we don't get to touch on it, right? Because I think we have touched on a lot of the emerging crimes and so forth already. Is the issue of ensuring that with all the advancement in technology, as well as the advancement in the regulation, the changes in the regulations, that we don't find ourselves where there's exclusion, right? There's the poor man, somebody who is because they're unemployed, can get an account
right,
at a financial institution to try to save a little from, as they get their little monies from the assistant and so forth to hope for a better day, to save for the rainy day. That we don't, that don't happen. And that is one of my concerns over the years in banking. As I indicated earlier, where I've seen banking from where you just come in the institution and open an account and knowing all the issues of the money laundering and all of that, right? And I just wanted to highlight that because we very often, the regulators tend to give us a set of policies and things that it's a one size shoe to fit everybody.
And in this case, the regulators are generally ECCB. They give
not just ECCB in terms of, because ECCB will implement these regulations that come down from the G7, that filters down through all these international organizations. And I fully appreciate, as a banker, the need for the understanding of why these legislation are so important. But But at the end of the day, we're in a small 2x4 country. Take, for example, if I'm somebody from, say, Canawan, the place is so small that if you're from Canawan, you could stand up at the bank and call somebody from different angles of the country. So we have to make sure that we don't have these things making it so onerous on people in terms of establishing an account at a financial institution. And that is something that I know the FIU as well as the institute, we have been lobbying the international organizations and so forth to have an understanding of these things so that we don't create where regulations preventing us from establishing relationships with poor people.
All right. And as you know, you brought up, Mr. Russell, you brought up phishing earlier. I just want to tell the listeners that phishing is any means of contacting consumers, especially by email, and presenting yourself as a reputable source, which you're not, and obtaining your information. Some of these are the fake invoice scam, the email account upgrade scam, the advance fee scam, Google Doc scam, PayPal scam, message from HR scam, and we spoke about that on Cop Chat a few weeks ago, Dropbox scam, the council tax scam, and the unusual activity scams. When you see some of these messages, these emails, these texts come in with these links, do not hesitate to contact the body in which they are believed to have come from, because a lot of them are just means of obtaining your information.
And if I may say, in respect of that advance fee scam, we have successfully recovered funds from persons engaged in those activities. So when that money comes into your bank account, let's not start thinking it's early Christmas, right? Report, because you too can become complicit and be charged. So we have recovered those funds in excess about 99,000 EC dollars was recovered because the person made the relevant report, and we were able to recover the funds before they went back out to the person who was engaged in that sort of advance fee scam. So if it happens, make the relevant report and the monies will be recovered, and you will not be charged as a party to a money laundering scheme.
All right. So, quick question here from Mr. Russell. The person would like to know what is the procedure if an unemployed person wants to open an account at BOSVG?
We have ways of verifying the whatever revenue that whatever income or subsistence they may get from their people and so forth. And we set different parameters in relation to it. So it's about us in terms of the interview as we get to know who the person is. It's about KYC, getting to know the person. And once we feel comfortable, because for example, you can be unemployed and telling us, okay, you might get, maybe your boyfriend is working, and you bring us proof that he's working for X amount, Now, if we establish that relationship, which will monitor, if you tell us that, okay, you get subsistence of say $500 a month from him, you can't then go and bring in $10,000 into the account, So we monitor. So, but the point is that is having that conversation and get to know, do our due diligence to make sure that we are satisfied with the onboarding.
Okay. So at the end of the day, you just need to prove the source of the income. How you get any money to put into this account if you're unemployed? All right.
All right. So in wrapping up, we have just about 2 minutes left. So what I'm going to ask at this time, given that in about a month's time, we will have an influx of persons coming here to SVG for the cricket, for carnival, etc. Right? From the vantage points of persons with businesses or just generally, what advice do you have for persons by means of possibly detecting if they may find themselves victims of fraud? Any suggestions?
Well, of course, if you find yourself a victim of a fraud, the first person I believe you should report to is the police. And then we will launch our investigation. And based on our investigation, of course, we'll invite the FIU to assist us. If we have to go to any institution, banking institution, we'll, of course, get to those institutions to make sure that we assist the person as best as we can. if we are able to find the culprit, of course, the person will be charged and taken before the court.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, as Mr. Russell said, we're not trying to stop business, so do your due diligence. But if you suspect that there's something untoward, something illegal happening, make a report to the FIU, and you have to get as much information as possible. So you can't be doing business with the person and you don't take the relevant information if they're presenting a credit card. So their names, their address, because we can't do an investigation with nothing. So if you want any, as SOP said, to report to him, we need something to work with. So do your due diligence, yes. Be very careful, scrutinize the transactions, and if you still have a suspicion, make the relevant report to the RSVGPF or to the FIU if you are a financial or non-financial institution.
Well, like in banking, when it's peak time, you shift gears.
Okay.
So cricket being one of those shift gear moments because you're gonna have a high influx of people and so forth. So what do I say to the business community who are going to be welcoming a lot of these tourists on our shows? You have, as and Letitia, you have to be on the alert. You have to know is when you have to be on your P's and Q's. So you have to verify things. Somebody come to do business with you, book your hotel, check into your hotel and so forth, bring the card. You need to make sure that you pay attention to the IDs, scrutinize the IDs, ask them for the IDs. So it's not just taking the card and because they come in and swipe it and then feel that that's okay. You want to make sure that you collect as much information and the things that you need to make sure that you verify the IDs, the signatures, and so forth. Because the thing with credit card or these type of transaction, they still have chargeback period so that the customer could cancel the transaction after a period of time. But if the transaction is done legitimately and they cancel it and they say to charge it back, we have a right to then submit the documentation to say to Visa, if it's a Visa card, just using Visa for example, and to show hey this customer did it legitimately and so forth. So it is not something that they'll be able to get over it, But if, for example, you didn't pay attention to the card and the ID, because the card that is used is for Solly and Russell, but the person who really presented the card is really Ezra and Valentine, then you have no leg to stand on. So you need to make sure that you verify the things and do your due diligence. Be on your P's and Q's and do the things that you're supposed to do.
All right. So the time is 9:03 here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are out of time this morning with our cup chat. Just want to thank the panel for joining us this morning. Thanks, guys, for this very informative segment.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having us. Thanks.
All right.